Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Duck Harbor All Access After Party. I don't have a total plan for this, but I think Emily's going to spotlight everybody from the group and welcome in our cast, Deirdre Starnes, Jeff Rivas. I'll see if they show up on the screen if I do that. I think they're coming soon, unless you.
Hello.
There we are, and then Ellen Lewis, Ellen Lewis. Come on, join us, Ellen. And then Bob Bartlett, I think you are out there and need to accept.
Hello, my beautiful
your invitation.
So good to see you. Bravo.
Thank you, Ellen.
Well, hi, friends. Well, Jeff, this is Deirdre, Jeff.
Hello, Deirdre.
Hello, Jeff.
What a pleasure to finally meet you.
Finally, talk about discipline. It was so hard for me not to cyber stalk you.
I will confess, I did just look at your bio on the First Stage webpage, but I told Alex, I think on the third episode, I felt like the groom who saw his bride, and I felt really bad that there was a moment in our tech where I caught you when they brought me on, and I'm like, oh my God, I saw my bride. Oh. So
I love it.
So it's been, this whole process has been incredible. I mean, from top to bottom, so many different new things, but I just want to say, in sticking to the discipline of this show, really, I think, up the meter for me. I don't know for you, I can't speak for you, but I just, wanting to, go, I want to cheat, I want to know, but not, and staying with it really was a treat and really up the stakes for me. So
yeah, I totally agree. I have a cheat. It wasn't on purpose though, and as soon as I realized it, I immediately X'd myself out. But I was downloading one of the scripts, and I had this option to download it with Google Docs. And when I downloaded it with Google Docs, you could see through the black.
Oh no.
And I was like, no. I remember which episode it was, but I mean, I went into this panic, like, oh my gosh, I'm cheating. And then I have friends and family members who were saying, well, you can't stalk him, but I can.
Ellen and Bob, thank you so much for creating Mac and Wendy. And I've had major discussions with Alex about what are you guys doing to us. But it's been such a great skin to be in and to grow and to hopefully bring to life what you guys have wanted to bring to life. And I just hope that we were close enough, because I can't imagine you guys are talking to each other and saying, well, I think he'll say it this way, and then it comes out my mouth completely different. And you guys are like, okay, I didn't see that coming, but let's go with that.
Yeah.
Well, we could stalk both of you, so and not feel guilty about it. And you're both just brilliant. Period. And we knew that coming in, and then I don't want to speak for Ellen, but week after week, we were blown away, and frankly, just puzzled at how you did this. And I, as a frustrated actor, I could never have done what you did, never. And when are we ever going to get to do something like this again? I mean, this was really a one-off.
It's been such a joy writing for the two of you. You are just you're delightful to watch, and you were so beautiful to watch together. As the relationship between both the characters and the two of you developed, even in spite of all of the, impediments of, Zoomiverses and different coasts and farness and the limitations that we put on the process of you not being able to see each other's lines or know that. But somehow that just brought the delight even higher. I don't know. It's just been
Oh,
such
yeah.
a pleasure, you guys.
I think going in, we thought this is really going to be a fun way to spend the summer. I mean, and this has been it's run the summer, 3 months. It's just been amazing.
I don't know what I'm going to do at 5 o'clock my time on Tuesday nights now.
I know.
Right.
I kept telling everybody I've had a boyfriend for 3 months and I'm about to like be single again. That's but Ellen and Bob, your writing. I mean, Jeff, I said week after week how amazing and how brilliant I thought you were, and that I couldn't do what I was doing if it weren't for the writing and if it weren't for you, because you made my job. You're like a dream castmate, like you give, you take, you think on your toes, and you make another actor feel safe. And the writing was just, I mean, I would get mad sometimes. I can't remember that episode where we kind of broke up. I said it in the all access. I just sat at my laptop for like 5 minutes going, what just happened? And then I didn't want to be friends with Ellen and Bob anymore until I was like, they're doing what they're supposed to do, right? They're writing real stuff, but I wasn't liking all of it. And I hate Sam. Everybody needs to understand that when Sam came back, that's all I said for like a week. I hate Sam.
Oh,
It was a big wrench to throw into the works.
it
wasn't
was. It really was. It was for us too, because we didn't have Sam planned this whole thing.
Well, Dee, compliments to you too. And Evan, this wouldn't have been possible without you on the other end for me either, and allowing me to feel the vulnerability that I had, because I kept telling Alex, I don't want this to become small C or too melodramatic, but there were moments where the stuff that we were discussing just hit home and just hit a chord, and I didn't want to cover that. I didn't want to play it off, but let it be in that moment. And I thank you for that, and thank Bob and Ellen for going there and not being afraid to sometimes go to those places that we may not always like to be in those places. And just sharing that with me on the stage, just having the two people. That I will say though, there were definitely 2 episodes where a lot of people don't know what's going on behind the scenes, where my computer crashed right before we were going to go on, and then my computer did crash, and I went to my phone as the backup to do it. So it was really, literally sweating bullets right before showtime. And then being in the moment, just really help, again, having to throw all that stuff out, and, the audience doesn't know what's going on.
No.
And I didn't know either.
And it was a beautiful episode. So then we had to hack Jeff's computer every week after that, just to keep him on his toes. It was terrible.
And you were lucky, Dee, that you got to be in the same place. I was like moving all around.
You were all over the place.
Really? Wow.
I'm actually in downtown LA in one of our offices at the theater center. And then during the hurricane, I was down in one of the lobbies where the brick walls are. So it was a lot of fun. It's a good thing we had this building.
That's great.
That is awesome. I only had one off location because I was house sitting. I shared with Alex all I did to kind of make it like I was in the same place that I had been, and I had the laptop on top of like a hamper, or sitting in front of my cousin's closet, locked her dog out the room, and he's like at the door. But it's been Bob and Ellen. Wow. I mean, you know, Ellen, I saw the things we carry and was blown away. And, you know, Bob, you're swimming with whales, and you know, working with you as an educator, as a friend, and Alex, like you can't be a member of the First Stage family and not feel that everybody's got you. So to have like Jeff, whom I don't know, and that was really, really scary for me. That was super scary for me to know that this was going to be about a relationship between a man and a woman, and never have spent any time in the same space, never had any off-site conversations, never played any kind of games, never that. I'm like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to build a relationship and we don't even know each other? That's like the primary tenet of a relationship is communication and knowing each other. How am I going to do this? And the writing and Alex's trust and your vulnerability, that monologue. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, that was, yes.
My gosh. Your monologue was so brilliant. And I mean, I had to keep wiping my nose.
Well, I don't know if Alex told you, but they took me out. I didn't even know that you showed up at the very end of it.
Oh,
So we had this master, I have to tell this, we had this master plan, right, of you know, Jeff was doing this episode by himself, and according to the script, that was all it was just him, and then we would pop D into the last second and get Jeff's reaction. Of course, what I didn't think about is like, why is Jeff going to be watching his screen if he thinks he's the only person who's going to be in that episode, right? And so he was not watching himself deliver the monologue, right? So he had no idea.
It was interesting in this project. I've never done anything like it because all of us were working without a net, and we were trusting, Bob and I, our storytelling kind of I don't know, experience or ability in a new way, with allowing the script not to be finished and polished to the nth degree before we started, but truly to pay attention to the two of you and see what was evolving week by week and write to the two of you beautiful actors, and to the relationship, and to trust Alex to keep us safe, you know, in the writing too, and challenge us to ask the tough questions and get us there.
I have a question for you too. Did you write specifically for, you know, Ellen, did you write for Wendy, and Bob, did you write for Mac, or was it a collective thing? Or, you know, how did you find one of you felt stronger with one of the characters or not, or how did that happen?
I kind of thought, you know, because Ellen and I had been working on this for a year before we ever started writing or came into, you know, this process. But I had kind of thought maybe going in that we might write for one character or the other, and I'm so glad that we didn't. And, you know, first of all, we spent a lot of time together this summer, Ellen and I, a lot of time together on Zoom, and you know, I had hoped that there would be a great chemistry, but I was blown away by the chemistry. For example, you know, some days we would say on Monday, and our script was due on Tuesday. On Monday, we would say, okay, let's just both go and write. And it would just fit together, you know, and, you know, and one day I'd write the first half, she'd write the second half, and we hadn't assigned it that way. So it was just a really great chemistry. And yeah, I mean, your big monologues, neither one of us wrote those entirely. We split them up. So Ellen, you say something.
Yeah, you're just both of you.
It
Both of
was,
your characters are in our hearts
yeah.
and in our voices. I mean, it was, we just slid in, back and forth between both characters seamlessly, it felt like. And
There is a lot of us in these characters. Is that fair to say?
maybe a little.
They were
I
getting
mean,
very emotional from week to week too.
Yeah,
When the breakup happened, they were mad too. And they
oh
wrote-
yeah, no, yeah, that was
I probably
awful.
only cried 40 or
Yeah.
50 times during this.
Well, and that's the thing. I think, I mean, your performances were so brilliant throughout the summer, but I don't think we expected to be crying at any point.
Well, that makes three of
you
us.
know, and the story took us where the story took us, and I just have to say, and I think we all know Alex put in a lot of time on this project. Alex and Rashad were there with us all the way. If they had not been asking the questions that they were asking, it would have been a very different experience. So thank you, Alex and Rashad.
Thank you. Kathy Mead has a question for the playwrights, Bob and Ellen. How far in advance were you writing episodes?
About 5 seconds before sometimes.
Before, huh? I think it was about 5 seconds after.
No, we
boy.
had a draft due on Tuesdays, right? A draft due before the episode aired, so we were sort of one
First
ahead.
draft of it. Mhm.
Yeah, a very first rough draft, and then we'd have that polished into the actors by Friday, so they'd have the weekend. And I got to say, and maybe a lot of that was Alex and Rashad, but we really did stay to that. We turned in a few things kind of late because we were just really struggling with an episode or two, or what a plot element did to us, or frankly, what your performances did, because there were some moments that we thought would go one way and you took it another. So we went with you. So that was fun.
I also, I mean, one of the things that I think, you all had outlines of future episodes that got tossed again. I'd love to talk a little bit about that process. Ellen,
you want
to talk a little bit about you're trying to plan things out and where you did and how that all evolved?
Well, I mean, we put a stick in the sand at the beginning and said 12 episodes. Okay, it's going to be 12 episodes. So that gave us one kind of mark of arc of story that, whatever does, it's going to begin in episode 1. We've got to get them wherever they're going by episode 12. But then, and we did write right when we were, after we'd cast, but before the first episode was due, we did a rough outline, kind of thinking about, what each, in a few sentences, what each episode might be, just to chart a course of some sort. But like, we are theater people, we're both playwrights, and you're both theater actors. You know how it is. It's like you can't write a full-length story without having big pieces of your own soul going into it. And so no matter how much at the beginning we said, oh, we're gonna make a light romantic comedy, it's just gonna be, right up here, it kept delving into the hearts and souls of us and the big questions of that people ask themselves at this point in their lives about stuckness. I mean, I guess that became a central question of the show that we didn't have planned whatsoever. And
we did not have that plan. No.
Boy, it moved me so much to watch the two of you both excavate what was keeping you stuck and get unstuck. You inspired me.
Yeah, that whole concept of stuckness was not in our original outline at all. But that was, it was so much fun to to write as we went. Sam wasn't planned, Benjamin wasn't planned, the hurricane wasn't planned. None of those things were planned. They came
Like all the
week
biggest
to week,
things.
all the big things, and that really took us down some really, and some of that was Alex and Rashad pushing us, and then ourselves knowing that, first of all, 12 episodes sounded short at the beginning of the summer. And I think we always knew kind of how we wanted the series to end, so how do we get there and all of that. So
If I can dovetail into that,
really a once in a lifetime.
if I can dovetail into that, I would say that, I think what helped me, and I don't know if this worked for you, Dee, but, luckily studying, commedia dell'arte, knowing what the stock characters are and how you have a skeleton and how to work with that. And then I worked 9 years with a Asian improv group called Cold Tofu here in LA. And all that experience, as an actor has come definitely into play in this process. I mean, that really helped me a lot.
And Ellen and I, we did some sort of improv. One thing I was intimidated about going into the process with Ellen, because she's so wonderful and experienced and all of that, was when we would write together. And that, I was like, how are we ever going to do that? Well, we set up a shared drive in Google Docs, and we wrote together live. And that was really fun. And there was sort of some improv-ish stuff going on. We certainly would riff on things. Like she would say, here, wait, let me give this a shot. Or I would do the same. And then, we talked about this in our last All Access, was Ellen is wonderful with the yes and that. Do you want to talk about that for a second, Ellen? And it just kept us rolling.
Well, just that's how this project had to be, which is an improvisation sort of tool, right? Is you don't go in there and say no. You say, you say yes, okay, well, if this, then what's next? And you keep that forward momentum. And everything that we built here in this project was about forwardness and saying yes. And I think the process, but also the story, the play itself, was a little bit about saying yes and taking a leap with each other.
So I want to, there's a question that came in that Bob just lied about. So I want to throw that back in. Which is about the ending and how much you knew about the ending at the beginning, in the middle, and like an hour ago, right? And Bob said you knew where it was going to go, but I watched that process, and there were parts that you knew. What did and didn't you know was going to happen?
Well, I think we knew, although we certainly were pushed by outside forces, you and Rashad, the performances, but I think we kind of knew that we wanted them to get together. We just didn't know what that was going to look like or how it was going to happen. Is that fair, Ellen?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and Alex, you said in pre-production, you said, I think, I'm going to try to paraphrase, well, everybody knows that they're going to get together because it's a romantic comedy. So am I close there, Alex?
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think that you all were discovering along the way is that in a romantic comedy, the question is less about will they get together, but what are the obstacles that'll keep them apart,
right,
for most of them, right? And I think that when we talk about writing ahead, there was some point and I feel like it was right before the first date episode. There was only one date, but the first episode of the date, where it got recognized that we really had to know what was going to happen next week to know if this week was working. And so while they weren't written ahead, there were starting to become conversations about,
mm-hmm.
how far can they go here? Because if they fall too far in love in episode 4, it's going to be long, boring 8 weeks, right? And how do you, what needs to happen in order to make it peak at the point that you wanted it to peak.
Right.
And I think that was a question along the way that was really part of it.
Well, I was unsure. I was unsure we were going to have a happy ending because I didn't get an airplane ticket to go to the East Coast, to be in the same space as Dee. And I was like, okay, if we're not getting together that way, maybe this is not going to, and which is great. When I teach kids, I always say, things don't always don't get tied up in a nice blue ribbon. Things are.
Jeff and Dee, did you have what did you think was going to happen in this last episode? Did you, before you saw the script, or before tonight, because did you have any ideas?
I kept telling Alex I didn't trust you guys anymore. I just kept saying I know what I want to happen. I know what Wendy wants and needs to happen, but I really don't trust Bob and Ellen to do that. One of the reasons is because they're brilliant, and why would they do the obvious? And sometimes you would do the obvious and I'd be stumped. And then I get comfortable, and then you bring Sam back into my life, and I hate Sam. In case I haven't said it enough, I hate Sam. But I wanted it to go a certain way, and I had this initial thought in the beginning. Yes, they're going to get together. But as you kept writing, I was like, I don't know, because this doesn't. Does every rom-com have a happy ending? I kept trying to figure that out. And then, the disappointment. Which episode was it when Augie got up and stomped away from the computer? He was so upset. I was so upset. I think, a lot of the audience, people were so upset, and I didn't want to come back. I told Alex I quit. I'm not going to get heartbroken again.
Was that that was the one that ended with the string of jokes, wasn't it? Yeah, I love that one.
I don't know which one it was, but I was. Yeah, no, it was the one when we couldn't do this anymore. Was that the joke?
Oh, that's the jokes one.
Yeah. Augie was upset. I was upset.
We were upset too.
I was getting ready to leave. Like, I was going to leave. I was going to leave of absence, and yeah, but it was beautiful.
Well, you know what? Team love. It, is we did have in the writers' room team love and team cynicism. I'm not going to tell you who was on which team here. But it was like we had to fight for you two to get together, and the bigger the obstacles, like the more fight we had. But I wanted it. I wanted you guys to get together. I really
did. We did have questions like, is it really possible for two people to fall in love in 12 weeks over Zoom?
Well, and I think it's really important. And I think what we really got down to is that even they getting together in the end, there's 100 different versions of getting together, right? Mm-hmm. And which of those felt right? I mean, I think we felt like no matter what, they have changed each other's life and helped them get unstuck. And then the question of what was the appropriate level of getting together that felt satisfying, but also felt like they got to keep their agency, right? And mm-hmm. The possibility without, as Jeff says, wrapping it all up. It was there were a lot of things on the table, right? That's why I laugh when Bob says like, "Oh, we knew where it was going." I was like,
"Well,
we didn't know where it was going on Thursday, Bob." What are you talking about?
I probably said we probably knew where it was.
And Bob and Ellen, you left out one great duck joke.
Which one?
Why does a duck have tail feathers?
Why?
To cover his butt quack.
Oh, that would have been a good one. That would have been a good one.
Wendy wouldn't have said that one.
That would have been a good one.
That would have been all Mac.
Somebody asked about storylines that didn't make it, and I know I have one that, like, from day one, I feel like maybe both, but I've heard it out of Bob's mouth, I think the most. He was like, well, this is the one thing that's definitely going to happen, that at about episode 3 or 4, he's like, we can't do this. And that's you remember that Jib was not going to survive. Like from day one, Bob had the Jib's dying episode.
Yeah, I had
If you
I had-
remember the very second episode,
yeah.
Jib throws up on the bed, and that was like the precursor to like Bob. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, he was like, "I can't, we can't do this."
we just we had Jib, you know, he's so old, and you know, and but you know, honestly, I think it was now I can't remember the dude who owned the little diner. What was his name?
Herman.
Herman became such an important device that we did not expect. We did not expect him to have, and part of that was your performance, Jeff. We did not expect him to play so huge a role in your life.
Mm.
And really, he's the first domino to push you off that island.
Mm.
So after he died, we kind of probably got what we needed from his death. So
I was
Jib
holding
was
on right
spared.
until the end, man. Until Jib got those doggy goggles on his face, I wasn't sure he was going to make it.
My worry was, where am I going to find a Jib? I got to go to the dog park to ask somebody,
Right.
can I borrow your lab?
Right.
Well,
right.
I do have to say that I did think about, and we actually talked about farms that were local to UD,
Yeah.
Deirdre, to see if we could get you a duck for an episode, because
Oh.
that would
Yes, we
really
did.
play, but we
We
didn't
did.
manage to get you a duck. I'm
We
sad.
did. And there's
I'm
one
not sad.
there's
I'm-
one
I'm not
episode
sad.
one episode I think we really loved, and it was on our original outline, and it ended up not working out. But it was an episode where the two of you would have been outside at night, walking around, zooming on your phones,
Mm.
and we thought that would have been so beautiful. But it wasn't the technology; it was that it didn't fit in the story any longer.
Yeah.
So
And
that
the
would have been.
cicadas were here too.
I
They
mean-
would have been really loud.
There were so many discoveries about structure that you all made too, right? Like because initially the courtship was going to be long, and there were going to be many dates, right? And then
Right.
there was the realization that it just needed to be one, but then the realization that that one needed a lot of art,
Right.
you know. And, it was fascinating to watch how those discoveries got made, and then the challenges, right? Let's give Jeff a whole episode, to, you know, where he's the only one talking, right? And let's move Jeff. I love the hurricane episode. Just getting him
Me
in
too.
outer space on his phone with the lighting, and the world changed, right? It was great.
And in that regard, I think it was Ellen who started us talking about 3-episode arcs, that we sort of started to think about, you know, what was happening in 3-episode chunks, especially in the second half.
And you chime in on this, because as the writers, you know, I did my best to stay on script, right? But yet felt that because we have this skeleton, can I color outside the lines a little bit? And yet I find I didn't need to as much, but there were storylines that I felt like I wanted to go in this other direction, but staying in the script, you know, help us stay focused. But did you ever feel that, Dee, at all, of taking a line and adding and going somewhere else with it?
I you know, that's interesting. Because, you know, as an educator, one thing that I'm always telling my students, you have to say what the playwright wrote. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or whether you agree with it, but I have to tell you, there were times when I, you know, maybe didn't want to change it, but I wanted not to say it.
Mm.
And you know, I'm just like, I don't want to say this. I just don't, no, this can't be happening. But I don't know. I just keep saying over and over again that the writing was really so rich and so full and so just two people. It was so just two people with no one in the room watching. And it was scary as an actor, but it was also freeing as an actor, because I felt like I really only have one shot and I don't have to please anybody because I just have this one shot. And so it can mean whatever I think it means, because there's no one to ask. All I have is my instincts and my scene partner, and that's it. And so my Dee, again, there were things I didn't want to say. There were places I didn't want to go. Oh my gosh, knowing who I am, and when Sam came back, I'm like, I need not to be attached to this man, but I know me. And I know that if, as my husband, he wants to reconcile based on who I am, I would make space for that. And oh my gosh, I didn't want to do that. I did
Oh.
not. I was like, I would rather have this unseen, unknown, untouchable friend on the East Coast than have this Sam I am that I hate. And I was so terrified. I was so incredibly terrified that you would make me make amends with Sam.
Well, I'm glad we didn't.
Well, part of what the joy of this has been how intimate the whole process is, and how brave the two of you have been, and about being vulnerable. And that's one thing, in theater, there's so much we miss. I'm sure all of us, about the theater. But there is something about being this close to you, so very close, and your honesty and openness, and how much you listened, the two of you, to each other, and allowed your hearts to open. That was beautiful to watch, and I think made us want to be better writers for you. So that we could, because we wanted you to be happy, maybe through the sadness and the difficulty, but we wanted to make this feel rich and human and real and true in the deepest ways we could for you.
Yeah.
Well, and one other thing I want to make sure that I at least express, that the level of trust all of us had to each other. To try to trust Alex, to say, hey, Alex, is this right? And he says, look, I got you. You're doing it. I know he would put me back in line if I was out. I trusted my scene partner to be there with me, and I trusted your guys' words. So there was just so much, not just the love, but the trust. Because if we weren't trusting it, I don't think it would maybe have come off the same way, because we would be second guessing it, going, no, I don't want to, like you said, Dee, I don't want to say that, but yet you gave into it. You said yes, and here we are.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, because I've said this a few times in the past 3 months, but for Alex and Jeff and Dee to come onto a project never having seen or heard of the script, I mean, who does that?
It was the strangest offer letter I ever wrote. I wrote to Jeff, and I was like, so Jeff, I've got this project out there. You're not going to see it all. I have no words to show you. You'll never see some of the words. Right? I'm not going to tell you who the scene partner is. You're just going to discover that in front of people. God love him for saying yes.
Both of you.
Well, I gotta say though, at least Dee is nice on the ice, so I was very pleasantly surprised by that.
I said the exact same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea who this guy is. What if he's not handsome? I'm supposed to, I don't even have in-person time to develop this relationship, and if he's not handsome on top of that, I mean, I have to stare at his mug for 12 weeks. And then on that first episode, I was like, hello, Matt. And I said that was a relief, because that helped. But I will say, I feel like the turning point was your monologue too, for me to fully give in, because episode 1 was so funny and frantic for me. And so, like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, and I really don't know who Wendy is. I just got these words. And then, 2 was a little awkward because it was that second phone call. But by the time you did your monologue, which I think was episode 3, And I mean, it took I was literally crying. It took everything in me to remember that I am just a spectator right now. Because I imagined that I was I was crying. I had to get my face together. I had a whole blacked out script. Who does that? You know, the poor tree that died for the script that I had all blacked out lines. But Jeff, I mean, the vulnerability to be able to do that on Zoom, you know, on camera, on one take, right? One take. No director going, okay,
Yeah.
you know, nobody doing that. And that floored me. And I was like, he knows what he's doing, and he knows who we are, and he's got us. And that was the turning point for me. And I think it was by episode 4 where Alex even said he felt our rhythms just start to
Oh
sing.
yeah.
You know, like, because we didn't have that rehearsal time. You know, that's what actors have. They have the
Mhm.
rehearsal time to get the ebbs and the flows and to feel each other and to know the timing of the lines. You all put in, you know, she goes away for how many seconds? You know? And then Alex with his cuteness blacks out one-liners and sometimes doesn't even give us the clue lines, and we're trying to figure out, is it time for me to talk now? I don't know, am I supposed to be talking? But just the trust that we had for each other, and starting to, like, I started to notice your body language, which helped me know, oh, he's got some more to say.
There's, I mean,
Alex wasn't helping us with that. And
I'm ready to
Bob
work for
and
the
Ellen,
CIA.
did you
I love
ever
redacting.
see the scripts that he gave us? Did you ever know that there were times when we had no cue lines?
He told us.
He's the cynic in the room.
I don't know if you noticed this too, Dee, but on a cue line, sometimes the same word was repeated. I'm like, was that the cue line or no?
My favorite thing that I did a couple of times is I'd give you the cue line, but I would black out the punctuation so that you wouldn't know if it was a question or a statement coming at you. But in fairness, that's the specificity that Bob and Ellen wrote. And sometimes I have to say I bailed you all out because they would have things like they say in unison. I was like, they don't know the other person speaking. But you know, the ellipses and and cutoffs and question marks, and they were also, and you're right, Dee, like when they had pauses, Bob and Ellen would argue over the number of seconds that pause should be. Right?
Oh gosh, yes.
And you could I got so that I could see a script and I could hear the negotiation that happened on, you know, somewhere, right, where Bob started at 20 and Ellen started at 5.
We duked it out.
And we end up with these instructions that are like 7 seconds. But there's one other piece to this that I want to make sure. I know that we need to wrap up soon, but you know, the other piece to this that we're so used to that was not present, but then was in such a strange way is the audience, right? That we don't see any audience this. We don't hear, obviously, any audience through this. But I've talked to all of you about just the glimpses of audience and how much that meant, you know, that it was after week 1, we felt like the silence of it really hard, which is when we started suggesting people put things into the chat at the end. And that was really sort of uplifting, and not just because they were kind, but you could feel people getting invested in the show, right? And then because I'm the one in Virginia, I, you know, would occasionally run into people who would, you know, that episode where Jeff's monologue, I'd have people who were like, Dee's coming back, right? Because I'm not, you know, I'm not allowed to leave, right?
It's going to be 7 more weeks of just me doing monologues. Hello, Wendy.
Just answering the phone. But did you all start to feel and feel the audience at places within it, and it did feel like a Tuesday night get together, even though we can't see you, you know,
The audience is always present for us as we're writing. We're talking about the audience continually. But it was weird, the things that we normally have. Dee mentioned earlier, relationships with fellow actors and scene partners, and that's one of the things I think that made it oddly more real, more fly on the wall kind of thing, because you only got to see each other in performance. I mean, when you're the characters. So no, I think we were thinking about the audience. We missed the audience. I think we all, I mean, that's why, why we do theater, but for a big reason. So yeah, that was.
Oh, I also missed physical proximity to my actors because there were so many episodes, especially some of the more either the ones that were particularly joyful, like the date episodes, where the two of you were just like, oh, well, I know you're in love with each other, and I am so in love with the two of you. I just wanted to throw my arms around you at the end of the episode, which we get to do as playwrights. We can run backstage and say yes to that.
Right.
You were everything, and let you feel how much we appreciate your beautiful work.
And we pop off an email to you every once in a while saying that was amazing tonight, but I deliberately tried to give you space and not get all. So I see a question from Augie in the chat.
Oh, what I miss?
There's one from Nick too. Augie, coming into the 12th episode, did the actors feel pressure to make the ending just right?
Trusting the words. I had to just trust where we were going, and again, not be too schmaltzy, but just be in the moment and say the lines and react off of D. And I think that's what got us there.
Yeah. Yeah. The only pressure I felt was knowing I was losing my boyfriend after 3 months. I mean, because and also because we don't know each other's lines, I wasn't 100% sure we were meeting. I wasn't. I was thinking that that I was going to do my journey and he was going to get together with Benjamin and do something, but I kept I was like, are we meeting in the middle, or are we just helping each other take journeys that we should take? And so I was really, I mean, I went into this episode not really 100% thrilled because I wasn't sure, and I'm like, I need these two to meet. But what I loved, what I discovered tonight, they are going to meet, but I also love that they're just going to meet, no expectations, and that their unstuckness has, and I would tell Alex, Wendy and Mac have to stay friends no matter what. Wendy and Mac have to be a part of each other's lives no matter what. They don't have to be a couple, but they have to be a couple. They have to be friends. They have to be the kind of friends that lean on each other and talk. Whatever that is, it has to be that. And so I was happy that it kind of gave me it gave me all of that, but a little possibility. So we're waiting for season 2.
Also, though, going back to the lack of audience, it is tough because when I'm asked, do you love doing TV and film more than theater? I said the beauty of theater is whether the audience is with you or not right off the bat, and you're playing off them, you're feeding. That's the symbiotism that goes on between you and the audience. However, staying on and seeing the comments that some of your audience said really made me want to keep getting better and better so that they would come back to watch the episode and just not go, nah, that's a stupid little show, I'm not gonna, but to see that they were generally watching and wanting to know what was going to happen next, or that we've kept them on pins and needles, that then we know we were doing our job, and made me want to even do better. So even those small comments that came on at the end were very appreciative and pushed me to want to go even further.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, I hate to do this, but I think we have to wrap it up. I just have to say, you know, all through this, I said this, I think during the All Access, that, you know, all through sort of the conceiving this, and I love Bob and Ellen, but it's like, oh, a Zoom play, but this sounds cool, this sounds different. And then, you know, just before it started with episode 1, I was like, well, here we go, but this could just be terrible, and we're committed to 12 weeks. What do we do? Right? I mean, there was so much unknown in this.
Big risk.
And what became clear early for me was at least I'm going to work with really, really wonderful humans. Like, it's just going to be fun to be around these folks. So that's great. I had no idea. I mean, I had no idea how much I would enjoy the product of what you all built together. And I really did nothing other than black out lines in this. And it was
Oh, that is so not
No,
true.
that's not true.
That is not even
I
close.
wasn't fishing.
That's That's not even close to true.
But really, I'm just so grateful to each of you. I wish so much that I could actually bring you all into a room right now and you know, raise a glass to each of you. It's one of the hardest parts of this has been an episode ending and then being alone and without you all. You know, I wanted to, like, and I'm like texting you all, and, you know, but it's not the same. But I'm so grateful to each of you and a whole number of people who are not, you know, who don't have their cameras on right now, who made this happen every week.
Yes.
There's a whole team that made this possible. So thank you all so much. And thanks everybody for being a part of this with us.
There was a couple more questions there, Alex. I don't know if you want to answer them.
What do we got? What I missed?
Do you have any idea how many people tuned in each week?
It's weird because of the All Access. I don't have a good answer because people would like watch 3 at a time and then not watch, or they'd watch, you know, so we'd see numbers go up and down. It's really, I think at the end we can sort of average it out, but it's been hard to figure it out week to week.
We also have a question. Are Jeff and Dee ever going to meet?
Get on that motorcycle.
I do have some family. I do have some family in Virginia, just outside of Richmond. So I'm hoping once everything is open and somewhat back to normal, that I will take a trip out to see my nephews, and they have ducks and chickens and turtles in their yard, and I will go out there and.
I'm gonna throw this into the theatrical universe, but wouldn't it be amazing to see them on stage together not in this play. This play was written for this specific medium, but see them on stage someday together. Wow.
Yeah, I told Alex that I would love to be in a in-person show with Jeff. But Jeff, FYI, only for 24 hours though. I am going to be in LA this weekend. For 24 hours. My daughter's a student at Cal State LA, and she's decided, because of the Delta variant, she's decided to do online learning, but we have to fly out to California to pack up all her stuff and send it home. So this Saturday, I'm in LA until
a whirlwind trip.
yeah. The plane leaves, I think, at 8.
Of all the weekends, this is my father's 86th birthday, and he lives up in Fresno, and I'm out of town.
There it is.
When you two do meet, we need a picture, though. I'm telling you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
definitely on motorcycles.
Yeah,
Alex, I just want to thank all your behind the, Ariel, Emily, Rashad, Evan, all those people back that really helped us put this together. This was really, it's not just me on the screen, it's all those other people that are pushing the buttons, making sure this is all working. So I just want to also acknowledge them and say thank you guys for going on this journey with us and making this run as smooth as it could have been without any major backdrop happening. So thank you all.
Yes,
thank you, Alex.
absolutely.
Thank you, Dee and Jeff, and thank you, Bob, for being my pal.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, this was wonderful.
And thank you, audience, for staying with us for the story.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, friends. Thank you all.
We'll miss you.
Duck Harbor.
Bye.
Magic in a bottle.